Ryan, she's actually doing it. She's turning down the partnership. My husband's voice filtered through our bedroom door, low and satisfied. Yeah, I know. No, she thinks it's her decision. Dude, this is perfect. Once she quits, we can finally move forward with the business plan. I stood frozen in the hallway, my hand pressed against the wall for support. I told you, she can't find out. Not yet. Because if she knew I'd been planning to leave anyway, she'd never quit. The construction business isn't enough. I need her out of that firm before. A pause. My heart hammered against my ribs. No, she has no idea about the investment property. Or about Melissa. The name hit me like ice water. Melissa. Who is Melissa? Look, once Natalie quits and we move to the suburbs, everything changes. She'll be isolated, probably pregnant within a year, completely dependent on me financially. Then I tell her about the business, about needing to focus on that instead of us. By the time she realizes what's happening, the divorce will be cleaner. My legs threaten to give out beneath me. Yeah, she's making too much now. The partnership would have meant she'd get way more in a settlement. This way, she walks away from her career voluntarily, gets used to being supported, and when I file, she can't claim she needs the same lifestyle. 8 years of marriage. And he was discussing my destruction like a quarterly earnings report. My name is Natalie Pierce, and I'm 34 years old. That conversation I just shared with you? That was my husband Trevor, planning my complete annihilation while I stood 3 feet away, believing we were celebrating my decision to put our marriage first. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have possibly predicted, was that I'd been negotiating multi-million-dollar deals for 7 years. And I never, ever entered a negotiation without a strategy. Welcome to Revenge with Alice. If you're new here, welcome to our community of people who refuse to stay small for anyone's comfort. And to my beautiful subscribers, my warriors, my fellow survivors, thank you. Thank you for being here, for sharing your stories, for reminding me every single day that we're not alone in these battles. Before we go any further, I want to say a quick prayer for each of you watching this right now. Lord, bless the person watching this today. Whatever weight they're carrying, whatever doubt is creeping into their heart, whatever battle they're fighting in silence, give them strength. Give them clarity. Give them the courage to trust their instincts and the wisdom to protect their peace. Surround them with people who celebrate them, not tolerate them. And remind them that their worth is not determined by someone else's ability to see it. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, before I tell you how I went from standing in that hallway, devastated and shaking, to standing in a courtroom 3 months later with everything he tried to steal from me, let me know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments. And if you've ever had that moment where you realized the person you trusted most was your biggest threat, type I see the signs below. Your story matters, and you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to share isn't just my story. It's a blueprint for anyone who's ever been underestimated, manipulated, or told they're asking for too much by simply existing at their full potential. Now, let me take you back to where this really started. 3 weeks before that phone call. 3 weeks before my world tilted on its axis. It was a Tuesday night, and the city looked beautiful from our home office window. I'd been staring at the same contract clause for 20 minutes, my eyes burning from the screen's blue light. The Preston merger was the biggest deal of my career, the kind of case that made or broke partnerships at Dalton and Associates. Nat, you coming to bed soon? Trevor's voice drifted from the living room. It's almost midnight, just finishing these contracts, I called back, highlighting another section that needed revision. This deal closes Friday. I heard his footsteps before I saw him, that familiar, easy gait that had first caught my attention at a college mixer 12 years ago. Trevor Pierce. 6'2", sandy brown hair that was always slightly too long, and that relaxed smile that suggested he'd never worried about anything in his entire life, because he hadn't. Not really. His family owned Pierce Construction, a solid, respectable business that had been waiting for him since birth. No student loans. No climbing ladders. Just a comfortable position ready whenever he decided to take it seriously. He came up behind my chair, his hands settling on my shoulders. You work too hard. His fingers dug into the knots at the base of my neck, and despite everything, I felt myself relaxing into his touch. This was familiar. This was us. This was the man I'd built a life with. When's the last time we actually spent an evening together? He asked. The question carried an edge I tried to ignore. After Friday. Once I make partner, I can delegate more. We'll take that trip to Napa you've been wanting. His hands stilled. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to notice, right? Napa, the flatness in his voice made me turn in my chair. What's wrong? Nothing. He stepped back, breaking contact. I'm just tired. Long day. Trevor, it's fine, Nat, really. Just come to bed when you can. He left before I could respond, and I sat there in the glow of my computer screen, that tiny interaction replaying in my mind. The hesitation. The tone. The way he'd pulled away. I should have trusted my instincts then. Should have questioned why my success announcement felt like bad news to him. But I didn't. Because I loved him. Because we'd been together for 12 years, married for 8, and you don't throw that away over a moment of weird energy. So I went back to my contracts, pushing aside the uncomfortable feeling settling in my chest. Friday came faster than I expected. The Preston merger closed at 2 p.m., and by 3:30, Catherine Dalton's senior partner and the woman whose career I'd been studying since law school called me into her office. Catherine's corner office was everything I'd dreamed about. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the financial district. Mahogany desk that probably cost more than my first car. Degrees and awards covering one wall, each one a testament to 30 years of excellence. Sit down, Natalie. She removed her reading glasses, setting them on a stack of documents I recognized immediately. Partnership agreements. My heart stopped. The board met this morning, Catherine continued, her expression neutral. We reviewed the Preston case, your performance over the past 7 years, and your contributions to this firm's growth and reputation. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. This was it. This was everything, effective immediately. You're being offered a partnership. Full equity stake, corner office on the 42nd floor, and a salary package that reflects your value to this firm. She slid a paper across the desk. I looked down at the number and felt the room shift. $350,000. Base salary. Before bonuses, IT was more than Trevor and I currently made combined. Significantly more. There's one condition, Catherine said, and my stomach dropped. The partnership requires serious commitment, especially the first year. Late nights, weekend client meetings, some international travel. Our partners don't have the luxury of 9-to-5 schedules. I need to know you're all in, Natalie. No hesitation. No divided loyalty. I'm all in. The words came out without thought, without doubt. Absolutely all in. Catherine smiled a rare, genuine smile. Then congratulations, partner. Welcome to the team that runs this firm. I floated out of her office. Actually floated. 7 years of 80-hour weeks, missed holidays, sacrificed weekends, all of it validated in one conversation. I stopped at the wine shop on the way home, buying the expensive champagne Trevor and I had been saving for a special occasion. Well, this was it. This was the special occasion. This was everything we'd worked toward. When I got home at 6, Trevor's car was already in the driveway. That should have been my second warning. Trevor played basketball with his buddies every Friday night without fail. He shouldn't have been home. I pushed through the front door, champagne in one hand, briefcase in the other, my face probably glowing with excitement. You're home early. I called out, setting everything on the kitchen counter. Guess what happened today? Trevor sat on the couch, phone in his hands, barely glancing up. What? Trevor. I walked into the living room, standing directly in front of him until he had to look at me. I made partner. Something flickered across his face. Too fast to identify. Then he smiled, but the warmth didn't reach his eyes. That's great, not really great. I waited. Waited for more. Waited for him to stand up, pull me into his arms, celebrate this monumental achievement that represented 7 years of my life. Instead, he looked back down at his phone. That's it? My voice came out smaller than I intended. I've been working toward this for 7 years, I said. Congratulations. He stood, stretching like we'd just been discussing what to have for dinner. I'm tired. Long day. You worked a half day. The words came out sharper than I meant them. I saw your location sharing you were home by 2. His jaw tightened. Are we really doing this? Can't I just be tired without getting interrogated? I'm not interrogating you. I'm trying to share the biggest achievement of my career with my husband, and you're acting like I told you I got a parking ticket, maybe because your career is all you care about anymore. His voice had gone cold. Genuinely cold. When's the last time we had dinner together? When's the last time you were home before 9? When's the last time I felt like I mattered more than your next big case? The accusation hung between us like smoke. That's not fair, I said quietly. You knew what this partnership track required. We discussed this. You said you supported. I supported you when I thought you'd actually make time for us after you made it. But there's always going to be another case, isn't there? Another merger. Another late night. Another reason why work comes first. Why work pays our mortgage, Trevor. My work pays for this house, your car, the lifestyle there it is. He grabbed his keys from the coffee table. The real reason. You make more money, so your career matters more. Got it. That's not what I said. I'm going to Ryan's. He was already halfway to the door. Congratulations on your partnership, Natalie. I'm sure it'll keep you company. The door slammed behind him, and I stood there in our living room, champagne warming on the counter, celebration dying before it ever began. Trevor didn't come home until after I'd gone to bed. I heard his car pull in around 2 a.m., heard him stumble through the house, heard him collapse on the couch instead of coming to our bedroom. Saturday morning, I found him in the garage, supposedly organizing tools that had been perfectly organized for months. Trevor, can we talk about last night? Nothing to talk about. He didn't look at me, just kept rearranging wrenches that didn't need rearranging. You made partner. I said congratulations. End of story. It's not the end of the story when you're sleeping on the couch and hiding in the garage. I'm not hiding. I'm organizing. You're punishing me for succeeding. Finally, he looked up. I'm not punishing anyone, Natalie. I'm just tired of coming second to your ambition. The word hit like a slap. Ambition. Not career. Not hard work. Ambition. Like it was something ugly. Something to be ashamed of. I left him in the garage and spent Saturday reviewing partnership paperwork, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach that kept getting tighter. Sunday was worse. We moved around each other like strangers. Ate takeout in silence. Went to bed in separate rooms. Sunday night, staring at the ceiling of our bedroom, now just my bedroom. Apparently I remembered something my best friend Jenna had said last month that we'd been having coffee, and I'd mentioned Trevor's increasing distance, his weird reactions to my work successes, his passive-aggressive comments about my hours. Nat, have you noticed he only seems happy when things are going wrong for you? Jenna had asked carefully. Like. When you lost the Morrison case last year, he was suddenly attentive and loving again. But when you won the Henderson settlement, he disappeared for a week. I defended him. Made excuses. Said he was just stressed about his own career, his own path, but lying there in the dark, her words echoed differently. When things were going wrong for me, Trevor was present. When things were going right, he vanished. That's when the idea formed. Terrible, maybe. Manipulative, definitely. But necessary. I needed to know if my husband actually supported me, or if he only loved me when I was small enough not to threaten his ego. I needed to test him. Monday morning, I found Trevor in the kitchen, making coffee like the weekend hadn't happened. Like we hadn't spent 2 days in hostile silence. Trevor, I've been thinking about the partnership. He looked up, and I watched his face carefully. Watched every micro-expression. I'm considering turning it down. The transformation was immediate. His whole posture changed. The tension in his shoulders released. His expression opened up, suddenly warm and engaged in a way it hadn't been in days. Really? He set down his coffee mug. You'd actually consider that? The hours Catherine described are brutal, I said, measuring each word. She said I'd barely be home the first year. Weekend client meetings, international travel, late nights becoming the norm instead of the exception. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe it's not, he agreed, and the speed of his agreement sent ice through my veins. I mean, what's the point of money if we never see each other? If we don't have a life together? But it's everything I've worked for. 7 years of there'll be other opportunities, he interrupted, reaching across the table to take my hand. The first physical contact in days. You're talented, Nat. You'll make partner somewhere else, somewhere that doesn't require selling your soul. I looked down at our joined hands. His thumb rubbed circles on my palm, a gesture that used to bring comfort. Now it just felt like manipulation. You really think I should turn it down? I think. He squeezed my hand, his eyes meeting mine with more warmth than I'd seen since Friday. I think you should do what makes you happy. But honestly? Seeing you stressed all the time, running yourself into the ground, never having time for us or for yourself, it's been hard. On both of us, the conversation continued, but I barely heard it. Because in that moment, watching my husband's face light up at the prospect of me giving up my dream, I understood something fundamental. Trevor didn't want a successful wife. He wanted a comfortable one. One who fit neatly into his life without requiring him to grow, change, or support anything beyond his own comfort zone. The test had confirmed what I'd been afraid to admit. My husband wanted me to fail. Over the next 3 days, I gave the performance of my lifetime. Tuesday morning, I came to breakfast already complaining. I couldn't sleep last night. Just kept thinking about Catherine's requirements. 80-hour weeks minimum. That's not sustainable. Trevor looked up from his phone, instantly alert. It's really that bad? Worse. She wants me available for client calls at any time. Even weekends. I poured my coffee with hands that appeared steady, though my mind was racing, cataloging every reaction. One of the current partners told me she missed her daughter's graduation last year because of a client emergency. That's terrible. Trevor stood, coming around the table to wrap his arms around me from behind. The gesture would have been sweet a week ago. Now it felt calculated. You deserve better than that, Nat.doi though? Maybe this is just what it takes to succeed at this level. Success shouldn't cost you everything else. His lips brushed my temple. We've been talking about starting a family. How would that work if you're never home? There it was. The family card. The one he'd been pushing for months while I kept postponing, kept saying, after the partnership. You're right, I said softly, leaning into him while my mind stayed sharp and analytical. Maybe kids should be the priority now. His arms tightened around me. Really? I'm 34. The partnership will be there, but the biological clock won't wait forever. That evening, Trevor suggested we look at houses online. Not in the city where we currently lived, but in the suburbs. An hour commute from my office. Look at this one. He turned his laptop toward me, showing a sprawling colonial with a white picket fence. 4 bedrooms, big backyard. Perfect for kids. It's beautiful, I admitted, because it was. But Trevor, that's 90 minutes from Dalton and Associates in traffic, right? But if you're not taking the partnership, does it matter? You could find something closer to home. Maybe a smaller firm with better hours. A smaller firm. Smaller cases. Smaller salary. Smaller life, maybe, I said, and watched him light up like I'd just agreed to everything he wanted. Wednesday, I brought home suburban real estate magazines. Left them on the coffee table where Trevor would see them. Bookmarked pages with houses that had nurseries already painted in soft yellows and mint greens. You're really serious about this, he said that night, flipping through the magazines I'd strategically marked. I want us to be happy. I curled up next to him on the couch, playing the role of devoted wife, and you're right, I have been prioritizing work too much. Maybe it's time to focus on building our family instead of building my career. He kissed me then, deep and passionate in a way he hadn't in months. And I kissed him back, tasting the lie between us. His lie about loving me. My lie about quitting. Thursday morning, I practiced my resignation speech out loud while he was in the shower. Made sure he could hear me through the bathroom door. Catherine, I've given this considerable thought, and I've decided to decline the partnership. My family needs to be my priority right now. When Trevor emerged, towel around his waist, water still dripping from his hair, he was smiling. You're really going to do it? I think so. I mean, what's the point of success if I'm miserable? If we're miserable? I'm so proud of you, Nat. He kissed my forehead. This takes real courage. Turning down that kind of money, that kind of prestige, most people couldn't do it, most people wouldn't have to, I thought. Most people's husbands would celebrate their success instead of sabotaging it. Thursday evening, I made my final move. Trevor came home from work around 6 earlier than usual, I noticed. His mood had been improving daily as mine had seemingly deteriorated. We were in the kitchen. I was chopping vegetables for dinner, and he was leaning against the counter, telling me about a potential construction project his father wanted him to oversee. So I was thinking, he said, once you're not working those crazy hours, we could actually travel. Take that Napa trip. Maybe go to Italy like we talked about on our honeymoon. I set down the knife and turned to face him. Trevor, I've made my decision. His eyes locked on mine. Yeah? I'm quitting. I let my voice shake slightly, like this was hard, like this was real. I'm turning down the partnership. I'm going to tell Catherine tomorrow. Give my 2 weeks' notice. Start fresh. The relief that washed over his face was so profound, so unmistakable, that something inside me cracked. This was the man I'd married. The man I'd pledged my life to. And he was relieved that I was throwing away 7 years of work. Nat, he crossed the kitchen in 2 strides, pulling me into his arms. That's incredible. I'm so proud of you for choosing us. For choosing what really matters. I let him hold me, let him believe he'd won. I need to call Ryan, he said, pulling back with a grin. Tell him the good news, that my wife is finally getting her priorities straight. He kissed my forehead again, and I wondered how I'd ever found that gesture comforting. That we're finally going to have the life we planned. I'll be right back. He grabbed his phone and headed toward our bedroom. I heard the door close, heard the muffled sound of his voice starting to speak, and I did something I'd never done before in our 8 years of marriage. I followed him. I stood in the hallway outside our bedroom door. And I listened. His voice was low but audible through the door. That particular tone he used with Ryan, casual, almost joking. The voice of someone who didn't think anyone was listening. Ryan, she's actually doing it. She's turning down the partnership. Silence while Ryan responded, yeah, I know. Can you believe it? No, she thinks it's her decision. She has no idea I've been pushing for this. My hand pressed against the wall. My legs felt weak. Dude, this is perfect. Once she quits, we can finally move forward with the business plan. Everything falls into place. What business plan? What was he talking about? I told you, she can't find out. Not yet. Because if she knew I'd been planning to leave anyway, she'd never quit. The world tilted. Planning to leave. Trevor was planning to leave me. The construction business isn't enough. I need her out of that firm before. Look, it's about the money, okay? If she makes partner, she's making $350 base. That's way more than I make. Way more than I'll ever make in construction. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what I was hearing. No, she has no idea about the investment property. Or about Melissa. There was that name again. Who is Melissa? Melissa understands it's complicated. She knows I'm still figuring out how to handle the Natalie situation. He was calling our marriage the Natalie situation. Look, once Natalie quits and we move to the suburbs, everything changes. She'll be isolated, no more office friends, no more professional network. She'll probably be pregnant within a year. Completely dependent on me financially. Oh God, this wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Then I tell her about the business. About needing to focus on that instead of us. About how we've grown apart. By the time she realizes what's happening, the divorce will be cleaner. Divorce. He was planning to divorce me. Yeah, she's making too much now. The partnership would have meant she'd get way more in a settlement. Full partner at a major firm? The alimony alone would destroy me. My hand covered my mouth, holding back the sound, trying to escape. This way, she walks away from her career voluntarily. Gets used to being supported by me. Gets comfortable not working. And when I file in a year or two, she can't claim she needs the same lifestyle. Can't claim she sacrificed her career for the marriage. She did it herself. The calculation in his voice. The cold, business-like tone. Like I was a deal to be closed, not a wife he'd promised to love forever. I'm not evil, I'm practical. No, I do care about her. But come on, we got married when we were kids. We were what, 26? People change. I've changed. 26. We'd been so happy then. Or I thought we had been. Melissa's different. She gets it. She doesn't put work before everything. She actually has time for a relationship. Plus, her father's firm could actually help us expand. Hartwick Construction is huge. If we partner with them, we could triple our revenue in 2 years. Hartwick Construction. Melissa Hartwick. Trevor's father's biggest competitor. Yeah, I've been seeing her for about 5 months. No, Natalie has no clue. She's been so buried in work, she wouldn't notice if I came home covered in someone else's perfume. 5 months. He'd been cheating for 5 months. It's better this way, trust me. Once she quits, we move to the suburbs, she gets pregnant, then I drop the business news. Say I need to focus on this opportunity with Melissa's dad. That the marriage has been suffering. That we've grown apart. Every word was a knife. Every sentence another betrayal. She'll be hurt, sure. But she'll also be financially dependent, emotionally isolated, and probably dealing with pregnancy or a new baby. She won't have the energy or resources to fight me in court. Pregnancy as a trap. Isolation as a weapon. My career destruction as strategy. The property I bought downtown? That's our future, man. Mine and Melissa's. 3-bedroom condo, great neighborhood. I've been furnishing it slowly. Natalie thinks I've been at the construction site, but I've been there. Building our life, our life. He'd been building a life with someone else while destroying mine. Look, I'll call you later. She's probably wondering what's taking so long. Yeah, tomorrow I'll tell her about the suburbs houses I found. Get her excited about moving away from the city. Away from her job, her friends, her whole support system. A pause. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. Dude, by this time next year, I'll be partnered with Hartwick, living in that condo with Melissa, and paying minimal alimony to a suburban housewife who can't prove she ever made $350 a year. It's perfect. It's actually perfect. The bedroom door handle started to turn. I backed away silently, quickly, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I made it to the kitchen, gripped the counter, forced my face into something resembling normal. Trevor emerged from the bedroom, smiling. Genuinely smiling. Ryan says congratulations. I somehow smiled back. My face felt like plastic. That's sweet. So tomorrow you'll tell Catherine? Give your notice, first thing in the morning. The lie came easily now. Everything was a lie. Our whole marriage was a lie. Want to celebrate tonight? I could open that champagne you bought, the champagne from Friday. From when I'd thought we were a team. From when I'd believed my husband loved me. I'm actually exhausted. My voice sounded normal. How is my voice normal? Rain check, sure. He kissed my cheek. I'm proud of you, Nat, really proud. That he went to take a shower, whistling. Actually whistling. I stood in our kitchen, my hands gripping the marble counter, and let the truth wash over me in waves. My husband had been cheating for 5 months. He'd been planning to leave me. He'd been systematically destroying my career to make his divorce cheaper. He'd been manipulating me into isolation and dependence so I'd be easier to discard, and I'd almost fallen for it. That night, Trevor fell asleep easily. I could hear his steady breathing beside me in the dark, could feel the warmth of his body taking up his side of the bed like everything was normal. Like he hadn't just planned my complete destruction hours earlier. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through everything I'd heard. Melissa Hartwick. Investment property downtown. 5 months of cheating. The business plan with her father. The divorce timeline. The pregnancy trap. The financial manipulation. Every detail of his scheme played on repeat in my head. Around 3 a.m., something shifted inside me. The grief and shock began crystallizing into something harder. Something sharper. Trevor had made a critical mistake. He'd underestimated me. He thought I was just a lawyer who worked too hard. He didn't understand that I'd spent 7 years negotiating with some of the most ruthless business minds in the city. That I'd closed deals worth hundreds of millions. That I knew how to read people, anticipate moves, and counter strategies. He taught me chess when we first started dating. Told me the key to winning was thinking 3 moves ahead. Well, I was about to think 10 moves ahead. By the time dawn broke through our bedroom curtains, I had a plan. Not just to protect myself, but to completely dismantle everything he'd built against me. Trevor woke around 7, stretching and yawning like a man without a care in the world. Morning, he mumbled, leaning over to kiss my shoulder. Sleep okay? Great, I lied, smooth as silk. Really great. So today's the big day? You're telling Catherine? Absolutely. First thing. He grinned, squeezed my hand, and got up to shower. The moment I heard the water running, I grabbed my phone and went into the spare bedroom. Closed the door. And started making calls. First call, Jenna Martinez, my best friend since law school. Also happened to work in private investigation. She answered on the second ring. Nat? It's 7:30. You okay? I need everything, I said, my voice steady and cold. Bank records. Property records. Phone records if you can get them legally. And I need you to find out everything about Melissa Hartwick. Silence. Then, what did he do? Everything you warned me about and worse. Can you help? I'll have preliminary information by tonight. Full workup by Monday. Nat, are you safe? I'm safe. He doesn't know I know. And Jenna? Keep this completely confidential. Nobody can know I'm investigating. You're the client. Attorney-client privilege applies even in friendships. I'll call you later. Second call, Catherine Dalton. My soon-to-be partner who had no idea what was actually happening. Natalie? Everything all right? Catherine's voice was crisp, already alert despite the early hour. The partnership is yes. Absolutely yes. But Catherine, I need your help with something personal, and I need complete discretion. Come to my office at 9. We'll talk. Third call, Beth Anderson, a lawyer friend who specialized in family law and divorce. We'd gone to law school together, stayed in touch over the years. Beth, hypothetically, if someone were planning to financially manipulate their spouse, getting them to quit their job specifically to minimize alimony in a planned divorce, what would you need to prove it in court? Beth was quiet for a moment. That's very specific, Nat. We talking about you, hypothetically? Hypothetically, you'd need proof of intent. Evidence showing they deliberately caused financial harm. Text messages, recorded conversations, witness testimony. Why? How hard is it to record someone in our state? Single-party consent. If you're part of the conversation, you can legally record it. Nat, what's going on? I'll explain later. But if I needed someone to handle a divorce, a complicated one with hidden assets and infidelity, could you take the case, for you? Absolutely. But talk to me. What did Trevor do? I'll come by your office Monday. Just tell me this: if I have evidence of an affair, proof of hidden property purchases, and a recording of him explaining his plan to manipulate me into financial dependence before filing for divorce, what are we looking at? We're looking at you keeping everything. The house, the assets, alimony, damages for fraud. Nat, you have all that? I will by Monday. I hung up and sat there in the spare bedroom, my hands steady now. Grief could come later. Right now, I needed to be what Trevor had forgotten I was. A lawyer. A damn good one. Jenna worked fast. By Friday evening, she'd sent me an encrypted file with preliminary findings. Melissa Hartwick. 29 years old. Daughter of Richard Hartwick, owner of Hartwick Construction, one of the biggest construction firms in the state and Trevor's father's main competitor. The photos made my stomach turn. Trevor and Melissa at a restaurant I'd never been to, holding hands across the table. Trevor and Melissa viewing a condo downtown, the investment property. Trevor and Melissa kissing in a parking garage. 5 months. He hadn't lied about that timeline. The property records showed the condo purchase. Trevor had used a separate account I hadn't known existed, one he'd opened 3 years ago and had been funneling money into from our joint account. Small amounts. 200 here. 300 there. Amounts I wouldn't notice in our monthly expenses. 3 years. He'd been planning this for 3 years. By Saturday morning, Jenna had the full financial picture. The hidden account had $47,000 in it. All taken from our joint funds. All legally mine as much as his. The business plan was real too. Documents showed Trevor and Richard Hartwick had been in preliminary talks for a partnership. Pierce Hartwick Development LLC. Luxury residential properties. Projected revenue in the millions. But there was a problem. Trevor's signature on those documents had a notation. Pending dissolution of current marriage. Wife cannot have legal claim to business assets. Richard Hartwick wasn't going to partner with a man whose wife could take half his business in a divorce. Trevor needed to be free and clear. And preferably with his future wife's income too low to demand significant alimony. This is sociopathic, Jenna said when she called Saturday evening. Nat, he's been planning your financial destruction for years. Can we prove it in court? With what I've found? Absolutely. The hidden account alone is fraud. Add the affair and the business documents, and you've got a slam dunk. Sunday morning, I met Beth at her office, empty on the weekend, completely private. She reviewed everything Jenna had sent. The photos. The financial records. The business documents. This is good, Beth said finally. Really good. But Natalie, the strongest evidence would be him actually saying his plan out loud. Admitting to the manipulation. I have that too. I pulled out my phone. Showed her the voice memo app. The recording from Thursday night. Trevor's voice played through Beth's office speakers. Clear. Undeniable. Damning. Once she quits and we move to the suburbs, everything changes. She'll be isolated, probably pregnant within a year, completely dependent on me financially. Then I tell her about the business, about needing to focus on that instead of us. By the time she realizes what's happening, the divorce will be cleaner. Beth's eyes widened. You recorded this? I was standing in the hallway. He was in our bedroom talking to his friend Ryan. Single-party consent applies. I was present even if he didn't know it. This is nuclear, Nat. This recording alone would destroy him in court. Good. Because I'm not just protecting myself. I'm making sure he never does this to anyone else. Beth leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. What do you want to do? I want him to think he's won. I want him to believe I'm quitting, moving to the suburbs, falling into his trap. And then I want to detonate everything he's built at the exact moment when he feels most secure. That's not just legal strategy. That's art. Can you help me? Natalie, I would be honored to help you destroy this man. The following week, I gave an Oscar-worthy performance that would have made Meryl Streep jealous. Monday morning, I came home from quitting my job with red-rimmed eyes I'd created using eye drops in my car. Trevor was already home, waiting anxiously on the couch. How did it go? He asked, standing immediately. I let my voice shake. Catherine was disappointed. Really disappointed. She said I was making a huge mistake, but you did it? You actually quit? I gave my 2 weeks. She tried to talk me out of it for an hour, but I stood firm. I walked into his arms, let him hold me. I told her family comes first, his arms tightened around me. I'm so proud of you, Nat. So proud. What Trevor didn't know was that I'd spent that morning in Catherine's office doing something completely different. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Catherine had said, her reading glasses perched on her nose as she reviewed the documents I'd brought. Your husband has been systematically planning to manipulate you into quitting so he can divorce you with minimal financial consequence. That's correct, and he's been having an affair with Melissa Hartwick. Richard Hartwick's daughter, for 5 months. Catherine's expression had shifted from professional concern to something sharper. Richard Hartwick. The same Richard Hartwick whose company has been trying to poach our corporate counsel services for the past year. I'd smiled. The very same. Natalie, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? I'm thinking that Dalton and Associates could finally land Hartwick Construction as a client. And I'm thinking that Richard Hartwick would be very interested to know what kind of character his daughter has been keeping company with. Catherine had leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. You want to represent the company while exposing your husband's affair with the owner's daughter. I want to accept my partnership, sign the papers today, and keep it completely confidential. I want Trevor to believe I quit. I want him to think his plan worked. And then I want to destroy everything he's built, very publicly, in a way he'll never recover from. That's not just strategy. That's warfare. He started it. I'm just finishing it. Catherine had stood, extending her hand. Welcome to partner, Natalie. Let's burn his world down. I'd signed the partnership agreement right there. The signing bonus $50,000 went directly into a new account Trevor knew nothing about. My corner office on the 42nd floor was being prepared. My new business cards were being printed. But on paper, to anyone who asked, I'd gracefully declined and given my notice. One more thing, I'd said before leaving Catherine's office. How would you feel about me being lead counsel on the Hartwick Construction acquisition case? The one we've been pursuing for a year? I can get Richard Hartwick to sign with us by the end of the month. I guarantee it. Catherine's eyes had gleamed. Then it's yours. Close the deal, partner. Tuesday evening, Trevor came home with paint swatches. I was thinking about the nursery, he said, spreading them across our dining table. What do you think? Yellow? Green? We could do a neutral color since we don't know if it'll be a boy or girl. I studied the swatches, playing the role of excited future mother. The sage green is beautiful. Calming. Perfect. He pulled me onto his lap, his hands resting on my stomach. I can't wait, Nat. A little version of us running around. A little version of us that he'd planned to use as a weapon against me. A baby that would trap me while he built his life with Melissa. Me too, I lied, kissing him softly. Wednesday, I spent the day job hunting. Came home with brochures from smaller firms, all conveniently located near the suburban houses Trevor had bookmarked. Look at this one, I showed him. Henderson Family Law. They're hiring senior associates. The pay is less than half what I was making, but the hours are reasonable. I'd be home by 6 every night. That sounds perfect, Trevor said, not even trying to hide his satisfaction. You'd be so much happier there. Less stress, more time for us, less money, less power, less independence. That's what he meant. Thursday, I made a show of calling my parents to tell them about my decision. Put them on speaker so Trevor could hear. Mom, I turned down the partnership. I know. But Trevor and I want to start a family, and the hours would have been impossible. My mother's disappointed silence spoke volumes. Natalie, you worked so hard. Family is more important, I said, watching Trevor beam across the room. Career isn't everything. After I hung up, Trevor wrapped his arms around me from behind. Your mom will understand eventually. She'll see how happy we are. Friday evening, he surprised me. I have something to show you. He drove us to a neighborhood 45 minutes outside the city. Tree-lined streets. White picket fences. Children playing in yards, everything that screamed suburban imprisonment to me. We pulled up in front of a 2-story colonial. For sale sign in the yard. I scheduled a viewing, Trevor said. Just to look. See what you think. The house was beautiful, I'd give him that. Hardwood floors, updated kitchen, 4 bedrooms, a backyard that backed onto a small forest. The master bedroom could be ours, Trevor said, standing in the largest room. And this one next door would be perfect for the nursery. Close enough to hear the baby at night. I walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. Calculated how isolated I'd be here. No office friends nearby. No professional network. No easy escape. It's lovely, I said softly. You mean it? He came up behind me, his reflection joining mine in the window. You could be happy here? I could. Another lie. They were getting easier. That night, Trevor made love to me with an intensity that had been missing for months. And I let him, knowing that every touch was a lie. That he was celebrating not our future together, but my destruction. Afterward, he fell asleep with his arm around me, content and satisfied. I lay awake, mentally reviewing my counter-strategy. Phase 1, complete. Trevor believed I'd quit and was planning our suburban life. Phase 2, underway. Evidence collected, legal team assembled, partnership secured in secret. Phase 3, about to begin. And it would require precision, timing, and one very strategic phone call. Saturday morning, while Trevor was at a construction site, probably the condo with Melissa, I made the call that would change everything. Mr. Hartwick? This is Natalie Pierce from Dalton and Associates. I'm the attorney who recently made partner here. Ms. Pierce, congratulations on your partnership. What can I do for you? I understand Hartwick Construction has been considering representation for your upcoming acquisition. I'd like to discuss why Dalton and Associates would be the right fit. We talked for 45 minutes. I outlined our firm's expertise, our track record, our resources. But more importantly, I planted seeds. Mr. Hartwick, I believe in transparency in all business relationships. I should mention that I know your daughter Melissa. You do? Indirectly. She's been seeing my husband, Trevor Pierce, for approximately 5 months. Silence on the other end of the line. I'm filing for divorce, I continued, my voice professional and calm. And I believe in full disclosure before entering any business relationship. I wouldn't want you to be blindsided by this information later. Your husband is Trevor Pierce? Of Pierce Construction? Yes, sir. I believe he and Melissa have been discussing a potential business partnership as well. Pierce Hartwick Development. More silence. Then, Ms. Pierce, I appreciate your honesty. Can we meet in person? Monday morning? I'll have my assistant send you available times. One more thing. Does your husband know you're aware of the affair? No, sir. He believes I'm quitting my job to move to the suburbs and start a family. He's under the impression that his plan to financially manipulate me into dependence before filing for divorce is working perfectly. His plan to what? I have recordings, if you're interested. He's been quite detailed about his strategy. Ms. Pierce, I'll see you Monday morning. And bring those recordings. I hung up and smiled. Richard Hartwick was a self-made millionaire who'd built his company from nothing. He valued hard work, integrity, and loyalty. The idea that his daughter was involved in a scheme to defraud someone and that his potential business partner was a manipulative cheater would not sit well. Monday morning, I met Richard Hartwick in his office, a corner suite that rivaled Catherine's. He was in his 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. I played him the recording of Trevor's phone conversation. Showed him the financial documents. Explained the full scope of Trevor's plan. By the time I finished, Richard's jaw was tight. My daughter was part of this, I believe she knew, yes. Trevor mentioned she understood it was complicated. I raised her better than this. He stood, pacing to his window. Ms. Pierce, I want to be very clear. I will not do business with a man of such poor character. The partnership discussions with Trevor Pierce are over as of this moment. I understand. Furthermore, I'd like to retain Dalton and Associates for all of Hartwick Construction's legal needs. Starting with the Henderson acquisition. I want you as lead counsel. I'd be honored, Mr. Hartwick. There's one condition. He turned back to me. I want to be present when you expose this. I want to see my daughter's face when she realizes the consequences of her choices. I'm planning something public. A dinner party at my home. Small gathering of family and friends. Would that work? When? Next Saturday. I'll tell Trevor it's a celebration of my last week at the firm. He has no idea I signed the partnership papers. Richard's smile was cold. I'll be there. With Melissa. The invitations went out Tuesday. I kept it small, 20 people maximum. Trevor's parents, his brother, his best friend Ryan, and Ryan's wife. A few of Trevor's construction colleagues. Some of my firm colleagues, including Catherine, and of course, Richard Hartwick. +1. I thought we could do a nice dinner, I told Trevor that evening. Celebrate this new chapter in our lives. Say goodbye to the firm properly. That's a great idea. He kissed my forehead. Very thoughtful. I invited some of your work friends too. Greg and his wife, Mike, Jason. Thought you'd like that. Perfect. Thanks, Nat. What Trevor didn't know was that I'd also hired a professional videographer under the guise of capturing the memory. Every moment would be documented. Every reaction recorded. Wednesday, I met with Beth to finalize the divorce papers. They were ready to be served. We just needed the right moment. The dinner party? Beth asked. The dinner party, I confirmed. He wants a public humiliation of me quitting? He'll get a public exposure of everything he's done. The legal documents are ready. Divorce petition, restraining order if needed, asset freeze on the hidden accounts. The moment you give the word, we file. Thursday, I went shopping. Found the perfect dress, red silk that hugged every curve. Trevor had always loved me in red. He'd bought me this dress 2 years ago for our anniversary. How fitting that I'd wear it to end our marriage. Friday, the caterers came to plan the menu. Trevor came home to find me reviewing table settings and flower arrangements. This is elaborate, he said, looking at my notes. It's a special occasion. I smiled at him. The end of one chapter, the beginning of another. I love you, Nat. He pulled me close, and I felt nothing. No warmth, no affection. Just cold calculation. These past few weeks, getting you back, planning our future, it's made me happier than I've been in years. Me too. I lied one final time. Saturday morning, the day of the dinner, I woke early. Trevor was still sleeping, one arm thrown over his face, completely at peace. I looked at him, this man I'd loved for 12 years, married for 8. This man who'd shared my bed, my home, my life. This man who'd planned my destruction with the same care most people plan vacations. Goodbye, Trevor, I whispered, too quiet for him to hear. By tonight, everything would be different. By tonight, he'd understand exactly what happened when you underestimated the woman you tried to destroy. By 6 p.m., our house looked perfect. Candles on every surface. Flowers in crystal vases. The dining table set with our best china. White tablecloth, gold chargers, wine glasses that caught the light. The caterers had prepared a menu that would have impressed a Michelin star restaurant. Seared scallops, filet mignon, roasted vegetables with truffle oil. Chocolate torte for dessert. I'd hired a bartender who was setting up in the corner of our living room. A violinist who'd play soft music during dinner. And most importantly, the videographer who was disguised as a family friend capturing memories. Everything was in place. I dressed in my room. Trevor was using the guest bathroom to get ready. The red dress fit perfectly. I'd gotten my hair done that afternoon, sleek and elegant. Minimal jewelry except for my wedding ring, which felt heavy on my finger now. One last time, I told myself. One last time wearing this symbol of lies. Trevor emerged from the guest room in a dark suit. He stopped when he saw me, and for just a moment, I saw genuine appreciation in his eyes. "Nat, you look incredible." "Thank you." I smiled, the mask firmly in place. "You look good too." He came closer, adjusting his tie in the mirror behind me. "This is perfect. Everything's perfect. Thank you for doing this. Of course. It's important to celebrate new beginnings, he echoed, squeezing my hand. If only he knew. The doorbell rang at 7 sharp. Trevor's parents arrived first, Susan and Richard Pierce, both in their 60s, warm and kind people who had no idea what their son had become. "Natalie, darling," Susan hugged me. "Trevor told us about your decision. We're so happy for you both. Family should always come first." "Thank you, Susan." Trevor's brother came next with his wife. Then Ryan and his wife Jennifer. Then Trevor's construction colleagues. Then Catherine and 2 other partners from Dalton and Associates. By 7:20, everyone was here, everyone except Richard Hartwick and his daughter. "I think we're all here," Trevor said, surveying the room. "Should we start?" "Actually, I'm expecting 2 more guests." I checked my phone. "They should be here any moment." "Who?" The doorbell rang before I could answer. I walked to the door, my heart steady, my hands calm. This was it. The moment everything changed. I opened the door to find Richard Hartwick in an expensive suit, his expression neutral. And beside him, looking confused and uncomfortable, was Melissa Hartwick. She was pretty, long dark hair, delicate features, younger than me by 5 years. This was the woman Trevor had chosen. The woman he'd been planning his future with. "Mr. Hartwick," I said warmly, extending my hand. "Thank you so much for coming. And Melissa, I've heard so much about you." Melissa's eyes widened. She glanced at her father, then back at me, clearly trying to figure out what was happening. "Come in, please." I stepped aside, and they entered. Trevor stood in the living room, champagne glass in his hand, mid-conversation with Ryan. He turned toward the door to greet the new arrivals. The moment he saw them, his face went completely white, the champagne glass slipped from his fingers, hitting the hardwood floor with a crash that silenced the entire room. "Trevor," I said sweetly, walking back to his side. "You remember Mr. Hartwick, don't you? And this is his daughter Melissa. I thought it would be nice to have them join us tonight." 20 pairs of eyes turned to watch. The videographer's camera captured every moment. Trevor couldn't speak. His mouth opened, then closed. His eyes darted between me, Melissa, and Richard, trying to understand how this had happened. Mr. Hartwick, I continued, addressing the room, is the CEO of Hartwick Construction. And as of Monday, Dalton and Associates will be representing his company in their upcoming acquisition. I'll be lead counsel on the case. Catherine smiled, raising her glass. "Congratulations, Natalie. Wonderful work landing such a prestigious client." Trevor found his voice. "Nat, what? Oh, didn't I mention?" I turned to him with wide, innocent eyes. "I accepted the partnership. Signed the papers 2 weeks ago. I've been working on the Hartwick case all week. Such an exciting opportunity." The room went completely silent. Every person frozen, trying to process what I'd just said. Trevor's mother spoke first. "You accepted the partnership? But Trevor said you quit." "That's what I let him believe," I said calmly. Because I wanted to see what he'd do if he thought his plan was working. What plan? Susan asked, looking between us. I walked to the TV mounted on our wall, pulling out my phone. I think it's better if I just show you. I connected my phone to the TV. The screen flickered to life, and there, displayed for everyone to see, were text messages. Trevor's messages to Melissa. Can't wait to see you tonight. Told Nat I'm at the site. She actually believes she's quitting. This is working perfectly. Once we move to the suburbs, you and I can finally be together. Melissa made a small sound, half gasp, half sob. Richard's hand gripped her shoulder, keeping her in place. Trevor's mother covered her mouth. His father stood abruptly from his chair. Natalie, stop, Trevor said, his voice desperate. This isn't you don't need to know. I think everyone needs to see this. I scrolled to the next image. Bank statements showing the hidden account. The property deed for the downtown condo. Documents for Pierce Hartwick Development LLC. You see, I said, my voice clear and steady, addressing the room like a courtroom. My husband has been planning to leave me. But first, he needed to manipulate me into quitting my job, isolating myself from my support system, and becoming financially dependent on him. That way, when he filed for divorce, the settlement would be minimal. That's not true, Trevor tried, but his voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? I pulled up the final piece of evidence. Let me play you something interesting. I pressed play on the audio file. Trevor's voice filled our living room, crystal clear. Ryan, she's actually doing it. She's turning down the partnership. Yeah, I know. No, she thinks it's her decision. Dude, this is perfect. Once she quits, we can finally move forward with the business plan. Trevor lunged forward, trying to grab my phone, but Ryan caught his arm. Don't make this worse, man. The recording continued, every damning word broadcast to our family and friends. Look, once Natalie quits and we move to the suburbs, everything changes. She'll be isolated, probably pregnant within a year, completely dependent on me financially. Then I tell her about the business, about needing to focus on that instead of us. By the time she realizes what's happening, the divorce will be cleaner. Trevor's mother was crying now, tears streaming down her face. His father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Yeah, she's making too much now. The partnership would have meant she'd get way more in a settlement. This way, she walks away from her career voluntarily, gets used to being supported, and when I file, she can't claim she needs the same lifestyle. Catherine was recording on her phone. Several guests had their phones out, capturing everything. This would be everywhere by morning. The recording ended. The silence that followed was deafening. So you see, I said, setting my phone down, I didn't actually quit. I let Trevor believe I did because I wanted to know the truth. And the truth is, my husband has been systematically planning my destruction for months, possibly years, while having an affair with Melissa Hartwick and planning to partner with her father. Richard Hartwick's voice cut through the silence like steel. Trevor, is this true? Trevor couldn't meet his eyes. It's not. It's complicated. Did you or did you not have an affair with my daughter while manipulating your wife? Mr. Hartwick, I can explain, answered the question. Trevor's shoulders sagged. Yes. Melissa was crying openly now, mascara running down her face. Daddy, I didn't know about all of it. I didn't know he was planning to trap her with a baby. He said his marriage was already over. But you knew he was married, Richard said coldly. You knew he was lying to his wife. I thought they were separated. He said. He lied, I interrupted gently. To me, to you, probably to everyone. That's what manipulators do. I turned to Trevor's parents. Susan, Richard, I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. You raised a good man. I don't know what changed him, but this isn't who I married either. Susan was still crying, but she came to me, pulling me into a hug. Natalie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. Trevor's father approached his son. How could you? How could you do this to someone who loved you, Dad? you don't understand, I understand perfectly. You're exactly what that recording showed. A manipulator. A liar. Someone who would destroy an innocent person to get what you want. He turned to me. Natalie, whatever you need from us, testimony, support, anything, you have it. Thank you. Ryan spoke up, his voice shaking. Dude, you involved me in this. You made me part of your scheme. I thought you were just venting, just stressed about the marriage. I didn't know you were actually planning to. He couldn't finish the sentence. Because you would have told me to stop, Trevor said bitterly. Everyone would have told me to stop, because it's wrong, Ryan shot back. Because normal people don't do this, Catherine stepped forward, her professional demeanor firmly in place. Trevor, as of tomorrow morning, you're being served with divorce papers. The firm will be representing Natalie. And I should inform you that we have evidence of marital fraud, financial manipulation, and adultery. The settlement will reflect that. You can't, we can. And we will. Richard Hartwick turned to his daughter. We're leaving. Now. And when we get home, you and I are having a very serious conversation about character and consequences. Daddy, please, Melissa. His voice was firm. You participated in destroying someone's life. There will be repercussions. He looked at Trevor one final time. The partnership discussions are over. Pierce Hartwick development will never exist. And if you come near my daughter again, I'll make sure every construction company in this state knows exactly what kind of man you are. They left, Melissa crying, Richard's hand firm on her shoulder. One by one, the other guests made their excuses and left. Trevor's construction colleagues looked uncomfortable and disappeared quickly. The firm partners congratulated me quietly before departing. Soon, only Trevor's family, Ryan and Jennifer, Catherine, and me remained. Trevor stood in the center of our living room, surrounded by the wreckage of his plan. You manipulated me, he said, his voice hollow. You lied. You let me think you were quitting when you weren't. I gave you exactly what you wanted to give me, I replied calmly. I let you think you'd won so I could see your true character. And you showed me everything I needed to see. We could have worked this out. Talked about it. When? When you were planning to trap me with a pregnancy? When you were buying a condo with another woman? When you were systematically isolating me so I'd be easier to discard? He had no answer. Susan approached me one more time. Natalie, can I ask you something? Of course, did you ever love him? Really love him? Yes, I said honestly. I loved the man I thought he was. I loved the man he pretended to be for 12 years. But that man doesn't exist. Maybe he never did. She nodded, fresh tears falling. I'm sorry you had to learn that. Me too. Trevor's family left. Ryan pulled Trevor aside, speaking in low, angry tones. Jennifer hugged me, whispering, You're amazing. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. Then they were gone too. Catherine was the last to leave. You handled that perfectly. Brutal, but necessary. Monday morning, corner office, 9 a.m. We have work to do. I'll be there. And Natalie? Welcome to the rest of your life. The one you earned. She left, and suddenly it was just Trevor and me. Alone in the house we'd shared for 8 years. I need you to leave, I said quietly. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. I purchased this house before our marriage with money from my signing bonus at the firm. It's solely in my name. Beth checked. You need to leave tonight. Where am I supposed to go? The downtown condo you bought with our money? Melissa's place? I truly don't care, Trevor. But you're not staying here. He looked around our living room like he was seeing it for the first time. I did love you, Nat. At the beginning, that doesn't make this hurt less. I know. He walked toward our bedroom, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I got lost somewhere. Started resenting your success. Started feeling small. And instead of dealing with it, I tried to make you smaller too. That's the first honest thing you've said in months. I'll pack some things. Be gone in an hour. I watched him go, then sank onto the couch. The adrenaline that had been sustaining me all evening finally drained away, leaving exhaustion in its wake. An hour later, I heard his car start. Heard him drive away, and then, finally alone, I let myself cry, and not for him. Not for the marriage. But for the 12 years I'd invested in someone who'd never really existed. The divorce was finalized on a Wednesday morning in October. Trevor had hired 3 different lawyers before finally accepting that he couldn't win. Not with the evidence I had. Not with Beth's expertise. Not with his own recorded words condemning him. The settlement was everything Beth had promised. I kept the house. I got half of the hidden account plus damages for fraud. The downtown condo was sold and the proceeds split. Trevor paid my legal fees. Most importantly, there was no alimony because he couldn't afford it. His construction business had suffered after word spread about what he'd done. Clients didn't want to work with someone who'd manipulate and betray his own wife. Richard Hartwick had been true to his word. The construction community was small, and everyone knew. Melissa had been fired from Hartwick Construction. The last I heard, she and Trevor were still together, living in a rental apartment across town. The partnership he'd sacrificed everything for had evaporated before it began. Meanwhile, I'd thrived. The Hartwick acquisition closed successfully. My corner office had the best view in the building. I'd made junior partner status within months, unheard of in the firm's history. Catherine had become not just a boss but a mentor. You remind me of myself 30 years ago, she'd told me. Brilliant, driven, and unwilling to let anyone dim your light. I'd reconnected with old friends, made new ones through the firm, and discovered that life without Trevor's subtle sabotage was liberating in ways I hadn't expected. Some nights, I still thought about that moment in the hallway. Still heard his voice through the door, casually planning my destruction. But now, from my corner office, looking out at the city skyline, I understood something important. That moment hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me from a relationship built on lies. Freed me from someone who needed me to fail so he could feel successful. Freed me from the prison he'd been building around me, one manipulation at a time. If you're watching this and something resonates, if you're feeling that uncomfortable twist in your stomach that says something's wrong in your relationship, trust it. Trust your instincts. Trust that voice inside you that knows when someone's love feels conditional. Because real love doesn't require you to be smaller. Real love celebrates your success, doesn't sabotage it. Real love supports your dreams, doesn't manipulate you into abandoning them. If your partner only seems happy when you're struggling, that's not love. If they discourage your ambitions, undermine your confidence, or make you feel guilty for succeeding, that's not love. If they're pushing you toward isolation and dependence, that's not love. That's control. And you deserve so much better. I'm not saying test your partner like I did. But I am saying pay attention. Notice the patterns. Notice when support turns to sabotage. Notice when encouragement becomes criticism disguised as concern, and if you find yourself in a situation like mine, where someone you love is actively working against your best interests, remember this: you are not too successful. You are not too ambitious. You are not too much, you are exactly enough. And anyone who asks you to be less isn't worthy of your future. The best revenge isn't anger. It's not public humiliation, though sometimes that's necessary too. The best revenge is living so well, succeeding so thoroughly, that they finally understand what they lost. Trevor lost a wife who would have supported any legitimate dream he had. Who would have built a life with him as true partners? Who would have celebrated his success as much as her own? Instead, he got exactly what he planned for me: isolation, financial struggle, and a future that's smaller than it could have been. Meanwhile, I got my corner office. My partnership. My independence. And most importantly, I got myself back. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. If it resonated with you, if you've ever had to choose between someone's approval and your own success, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. You're not alone. If you believe that nobody should have to shrink themselves for someone else's ego, hit that like button right now. Smash it. Let the algorithm know that stories like this matter. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their success is not negotiable. That their dreams are valid. That they deserve someone who wants them to fly, not someone who clips their wings. And subscribe to Revenge with Alice. Every week, we share stories about people who refuse to stay small. People who fought back with intelligence instead of anger. People who won by being strategic instead of emotional. Hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss what's coming next. More stories. More justice. More proof that the people who underestimate us often live to regret it. Before I go, let me leave you with this: your worth is not determined by someone else's ability to see it. Your value doesn't decrease because someone failed to appreciate it. And your future belongs to you alone. Stay strong. Stay strategic. And never, ever apologize for being exactly who you were meant to be. This is Alice, reminding you that sometimes the best thing someone can do is underestimate you. Because there's nothing more satisfying than proving them catastrophically wrong. Until next time, keep your standards high and your revenge served cold.